Oh, it is. It is Tuesday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Donno. Thank you guys for being with us today. We did not have an episode yesterday. I was filling in for Hawk and Crowder yesterday afternoon, but we are back today. We're back the rest of the week, 3 p.m. weekdays here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Do us a solid, my friends. You're watching this video, whether you're watching it live or you watch it later on, smash that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smash that like button and subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports. If you enjoy my content, Ethan's content, Six String Canes, The Extra Yard, 5 on the Floor, Clutch Corner, Dwork's Hockey Show, everything we have going on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, you do us a big solid if you subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on, and even hitting the like button for this video. It's great for us because the more likes we get, the more people's timelines we're going to show up in, and you can help spread the gospel of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I've got Adebayo in the title, who just returned last night. We're going to talk about Bam. We're going to talk about the Heat. We haven't even gotten into any Heat stuff yet. And Joe Latufo, God bless you, because you guys know that I love banter. Like I want everyone in the live chat, I want you to be civil to each other. If you have a problem with something, come after me. Don't come after each other. I want to have a good, friendly chat. If you guys want to make fun of me, that's fine. But I love how we're already getting Bam slander. Bam the jerk is still passive. Sir, he's been back one game after 7 weeks off. He's been back one game. Give the guy a little time to get his sea legs under him before we're talking about Bam being passive or still being passive. We're going to talk a lot of Heat in this episode. We're also going to talk a lot of Dolphins, and we're going to talk a little Miami Hurricanes in this episode. We have a great cast of characters joining us today. Tuesday regular, and this is a great time to have them on after Bam's return, after a big victory within the Eastern Conference over the Toronto Raptors last night. Brady Hawk will be our first guest of the day at about 3:15. Then at about 3:25, 3:30, we get our guy Dave Friedman on. Taco About It for Taco Tuesday. He's going to join us. And then at around 3:40, we're going to get a guy who usually joins us on Mondays, but we didn't have a Monday show, so I'm not going to skip a week with one of my favorite guests. Alfredo Artiaga is going to join us around 3:40 today to talk about the Miami Dolphins coaching search and to talk about the blame game that we see happening within the Miami Dolphins front office. And I do want to get Alfredo's prediction on who he thinks the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins will be. Guys, I'm telling you, the rest of the NBA is in big trouble. Now that Bam Adebayo is back, now that the Heat are getting healthy, they're already starting to thaw out Victor Oladipo from cryo freeze. The rest of the NBA is in big, big trouble. So Bam Adebayo returns last night from a 7-week absence. He has missed already this season 25 out of Miami's 44 games. He's appeared in 19 of 44 games this year. Jimmy Butler, who had a triple-double last night, has missed 18 of the Heat's 44 games this season. And so usually when you have your two best players missing that much time, where do you usually wind up? You're usually around the 7, 8, 9 seed. You're in the cellar. You're struggling to stay afloat in the East. You guys remember a month and a half ago when Bam Adebayo got injured, our goal, our collective goal as a Heat Nation, Heat Twitter, when Bam Adebayo got injured, our goal was to essentially tread water for the 6, 7, 8 weeks he would be out, right? We didn't tread water. We built a fucking yacht. That is how the Heat have thrived during Bam Adebayo's absence. The Heat just got Bam back last night, okay? Beat the Raptors 104-99, and we find ourselves now tied, virtually tied. I think we're like 0.03 percentage points behind, but we're virtually tied for first place in the Eastern Conference with the Chicago Bulls. So the Miami Heat, believe it or not, actually got better because of all the injuries. Not only did they thrive during the period of injuries when Bam was out for almost 2 months and when Jimmy missed a ton of time, not only did they thrive during that period of time, they also got better because of the injuries. Because, folks, we've developed something during that long hiatus for Adebayo. We have developed the best depth in the National Basketball Association. Caleb Martin, now an elite defender. Max Strus has become an incredible role player. Tyler Herro is rounding out his game. He's become an elite scorer. PJ Tucker, obviously, this is not a developmental guy. This is a veteran, but PJ Tucker is getting even better, thriving in Heat culture, adding to the exact sort of veteran presence that this team needed. This team has emerged from adversity stronger and more battle tested than they were before. So now the key will be, guys, moving forward, because listen, it's been cute, November, December, January, having a lot of guys in and out of the lineup and G League players, two-way deals, undrafted players emerging and thriving and making this team better. That's been a lot of fun for the last couple of months, but the key now moving forward between now and April, May, hopefully we're playing basketball into June, the key is going to be staying healthy the rest of the way and, of course, integrating Victor Oladipo because, yeah, injuries for key players. They made this team stronger because Eric Spoelstra was able to go into the lab and tinker and the depth was able to emerge, but obviously, the Miami Heat are not going to go anywhere in the playoffs without a healthy team at that point. So, yeah, you can't expect to get anywhere come April and May if Jimmy and Bam and Tyler Herro and Kyle Lowry, who didn't play last night due to personal reasons, are out of the lineup. You need to have all hands on deck. Last night was a lot of fun, though, guys. Miami, I thought, adjusted very well to Toronto's length, especially Tyler Herro, who can struggle with that at an individual level. He ends up adjusting, leading Miami in scoring with 23. And that dunk, you know the one I'm talking about. Tyler Herro's dunk over our old friend Precious Achiuwa was priceless. He put that dude on a poster. And you see how Bam Adebayo changes Miami's complexion. And he had a fine game. I mean, 14-9 last night. We're going to talk a lot about this with Brady Hawk because Brady Hawk, he is the master strategist, right? This guy breaks down film. He breaks down all the technical aspects of basketball. So I'm going to ask him exactly in his words how Bam Adebayo's presence changes the way that this Heat team plays. You see the chemistry, of course, that he has with Duncan Robinson with the handoffs. When Bam was out for so long, the Miami Heat really lived and died, usually lived by the three-pointer. I mean, we had a lot of success in certain games with threes, taking 44, 45 three-pointers in some games. Now, with Bam back last night, I don't think it's a coincidence. Miami only attempted 24 threes last night. For context, in Miami's previous 4 games before last night, they attempted 35, 30, 45, and 44 threes. So Bam Adebayo just adds another element. And honestly, what did he get? 36 minutes last night? The fact that he comes right back off the injured list. We didn't even know up until, an hour or two before game time if he was actually going to go because he was listed questionable throughout the day, Adebayo. So we didn't know for sure shortly shortly before game time that Adebayo was going to play. No minutes restrictions. He looks a little bit rusty after all the time off, which is fine. Had a bigger direct impact on the defensive end of the floor than the offensive end of the floor, which you're always going to expect for a guy like Bam. But man, he turned up big yesterday. Jimmy Butler had a triple-double yesterday. It was a nice one, and I hope we can get Tyler Herro into the All-Star game. Brooklyn Rob says, my source has it. Lowry was at the Philly-Tampa game. He was wearing the number 7 Philly jersey. Don't get more personal than that. Well, Brooklyn Rob is trying to stir something up here. Cass asks, Depot back before or after the All-Star break? The fact that he's been working out with the team for this long, I think he's going to be back before the All-Star break. It's going to be right around that time. I mean, you could say over, under, right before or right after the All-Star break. That's probably where Las Vegas would set the line, like right around that time. I think he's probably going to end up back right before that. Depot is Snipes in Demolition Man. I've got a shameful admission. I never saw it. I never saw Demolition Man. That's one of those movies that, and I'm a movie fan, believe it or not. I mean, Donno, you haven't seen Demolition Man. How do you call yourself a movie fan? That's one of those movies. I never saw it for some reason. I mean, it came out, I think, in the early 90s. I was a kid. I was born in 84, so I was a kid when it came out. I didn't have the type of parents that let me watch R-rated movies when I was a kid, so I never watched it when it came out. I never got around to it years later. So I don't exactly get the reference. I'm going to be honest with you. It's one of those movies that I feel like gets referenced a lot, and it usually goes right over my head. Right over my head. By the way, color commentary. Thank you so much for tuning in. He says, I'm listening for the first segment. Not a lot of b-ball experience for me. Well, Color, I appreciate you being in. And we were Color and Andres were in on the live chat long before the show started, talking Dolphins. I was talking on the live chat with these guys. It's a lot of fun. Like, we go live around 3 p.m. on weekdays. We went a little bit early today because I was sitting in front of the computer. Manny Chang logged in, and he's like, you're not doing anything. Do you want to just go on early? I'm like, sure, let me just go on early. But the live chat usually opens a couple of hours before the show even starts. So on any given day, we're scheduled to go live at 3 p.m. You guys can log in and shoot the shit on the live chat, usually like 2 hours before the show even starts. And it is a good time. So honestly, guys, you look at where the Miami Heat are right now. They're just a percentage point behind the Chicago Bulls in a virtual tie for first place in the Eastern Conference. I'm starting to think the Miami Heat should go for it. Being the number one seed, it's not the end all be all. Obviously, a lot of teams win a championship without being the number one seed in their conference, but it certainly is. It's a nice little trophy to have. It's nice to be the one seed and to avoid, tougher competition in the first round. Really, in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, you avoid the toughest possible competition when you're the one seed. Honestly, the Miami Heat have already, in a half season, faced more injury and COVID adversity than most teams in the NBA are going to face throughout an entire season. The Heat have been so snake bit. And now that they're starting to get everyone back and we're almost at all hands on deck at this point, the number one seed is very much in play. Very much in play because I don't think Chicago is legit enough to secure that. I think Milwaukee are probably the Heat's toughest competition in the East. Brooklyn is, really, really a mess right now with KD down and Kyrie only playing road games. So it's there for the taking. Like, honestly, how important is it to you guys that the Heat go for that number one seed? Because at this point, that was not a goal for me preseason. Like, preseason, I could not have even thought about or cared less about grabbing the number one seed. I didn't think it was realistic, and I didn't really think for a team like Miami, who has exceeded my expectations so far 44 games into the season, I didn't think that was something that we should even be focusing on, and it wasn't attainable, but it is attainable now. The number one seed is attainable. And by the way, I have said it publicly many times over the last few years that I am a Giannis Antetokounmpo fan. Let me retract that. Giannis Antetokounmpo is coming off like a whiny bitch. This guy is still doing interviews complaining about the Miami Heat thriving in a bubble. Now, my guy Ethan Skolnick has been all over this today. Let me see if I can find his tweets with these Giannis. Well, like, Giannis is still out there talking about the finals from 2 years ago in the Orlando bubble and how, the Milwaukee Bucks, they got straight up clowned by the Miami Heat. They got straight up humiliated in a 5-game series loss to the bubble heroes, as they're sometimes called, the Miami Heat. And you still have, like, you would have thought Antetokounmpo winning an NBA championship, you would have thought that would be now the focus. I am a champion. We are trying to repeat. I'm not going to think about what happened 2 years ago when we got eliminated in the bubble by the Heat. Like, I've moved on. I have won. Okay, find the one before that as well. Ethan's, because it's in there. It's in there somewhere. He had the quote from Giannis Antetokounmpo, which it honestly, it made me laugh. You know why this is so hard to find? Ethan tweets way too much. Like, I'm looking at his timeline. This guy does not stop. So there was a quote about Giannis Antetokounmpo saying, that they really thrived in the bubble atmosphere. It would have turned out a different way if not for the bubble. Here it is. Oh, I can read it for you. They had oh no, sorry, this is not the Giannis quote. Whatever it is, if we can't find the Giannis quote, it's fine. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is still talking about the Heat being a team that was built to play in a bubble. So basically, you're saying the Heat had a better coach and more disciplined players, so it wasn't fair to the rest of us. Like, come on, man. The Heat thrived in that. That's a positive for the Miami Heat. That's not an excuse for you. Focus on the fact that you won a championship the year after that. Something I want to rant about a little bit before we bring on Brady Hawk and talk more basketball. And like I said at the top of the episode, last week, the 4 episodes we did last week were basically 100% Dolphins. It was well, we did have Brady Hawk on last week, but outside of like one interview with Brady Hawk, we were all Dolphins all last week. Today, it's going to be a mix of Heat, Dolphins, and a little bit of Canes. But I got something to say about the Miami Dolphins and the mess and the dysfunction of this organization. This organization, guys, I'm 37 years old. Maybe some of you watching are like 20, 21. So all you know is dysfunction. And I feel really bad for you. Like if you're like a college-aged Dolphin fan right now, I'm really sorry for the fact that you're not even old enough to have watched Dan Marino play football. Like I'm honestly really, really sorry that you haven't had that experience. That's one of the few good things about being older, right? I'm actually envious of people older than me who were old enough to watch the Dolphins win 2 Super Bowls in the early 1970s, because I wasn't old enough for that. So, Color, you were closer than I was to that. You were old enough to watch all of Dan Marino, and even a little bit before Dan Marino, you were old enough for Woodstock. I was born, I think, during Dan Marino's rookie season. So I grew up on Marino because he played until I was 16 years old. Wait, hold on. You're changing your age? I'm sorry. I thought that was the same person because so Andres is 45. Color is 44. So no Super Bowls for you guys, but you're old enough to remember when the Dolphins organization was not dysfunctional, right? Because during the era of Shula, even if they weren't winning Super Bowls, this was not a dysfunctional organization. So this organization, the Miami Dolphins, have been dysfunctional for almost 20 years, roughly 20 years, okay? Brian Flores was with the Miami Dolphins for 3 seasons, about 2 years, 3 football seasons. So how is it that I'm now seeing Flo getting blamed for all the Dolphins' problems, which really go back to about 17 years before he even got here? Okay, you notice people are blaming Flo for everything. I don't think Flo is immune to blame here. In fact, for those who watched our episodes last week, I even said it. In a weird way, I can justify Brian Flores getting fired despite 2 straight losing seasons. Couldn't hire staff. A lot of poor in-game management. No matter what you think of Tua Tagovailoa, he did not handle the Tua stuff very well. So I was surprised, but I was not shocked that Flo got fired. Also, if you're not getting along with your GM, probably one of you is going to go. And in this case, the GM, who's a really good yes man, and Chris Greer, he got to keep his job and Flo didn't. So I wasn't shocked by the Flo firing, and you could justify it. But I now see people trying to blame Flo, who was here for 3 seasons, on problems and dysfunction that go back almost 2 decades before he even got here. So something I've noticed, that this blame game, I am getting tired of the Miami Dolphins blame game. It's happening with fans. It's happening, I'm sure, with the front office, because everybody's leaking stuff that makes them look good and make Flo look bad, because Flo's the guy who's no longer here. So Brian Flores, now, I find it really funny. You notice this narrative. If you read the reports that come out of the Barry Jacksons and the Armando Salgueros and stuff, and they're doing fine work because it's their job to report what they're told by sources. It's not their job necessarily to filter all of the information. It's their job to give the information. So they're doing a fine job. But I notice now Brian Flores is getting blamed fully for targeting Deshaun Watson. Like, that was only his idea. That, hey, if you don't want this team to acquire a guy with 22 allegations and pending grand jury testimony, if you don't want that guy here, don't worry. That was all Brian Flores, and Brian Flores is not here anymore. We fixed that problem. Guys, that was a collaborative effort. The targeting of Deshaun Watson and the negotiations that nearly got him traded here a couple of months ago, that was a collaborative effort between the coach, the GM, and the owner. In fact, the team owner, thank you, Color, the team owner was literally 4 settlements away from signing off on that trade. That he saw apparently Deshaun Watson could have delivered 18 out of 22 settlements, and if they could have gotten those last 4 settlements, the owner would have signed off on it before the deadline. He tried to arrange a phone call with Deshaun Watson the night before the trade deadline. Apparently, Deshaun Watson shut that phone call down because he knew he couldn't deliver all 22 settlements. But Stephen Ross, by the way, could have shut that trade down before even reaching that point. And people are now trying to blame everyone but Chris Grier for the poor draft picks that have happened since 2016. I'm not saying they were all poor. In fact, the top 3 guys you drafted last year all look tremendous. So I give Grier credit. I give Grier credit for Jalen Waddle. I give him credit for Jalen Phillips, all the Jalens. I give him credit for Javon Holland, JJJ, the 3 Js. That was great stuff. I give him credit for that. We've had a lot of bad picks, though, between 2016, which is when Chris Grier got final say over the draft room. We've had a lot of bad picks between 2016 and now. So now the word coming out, the people who are trying to blame everything on Flo and not on Grier, the word coming out is, well, Chris Grier was only drafting players that Adam Gase wanted, and then he was only drafting players that Flores wanted. So none of the bad picks were on him. All the bad picks were on Gase, and then they were on Flores. Okay. So if you're telling me apparently the job of an NFL general manager is just to be a yes man for the head coach and just take whoever the coach wants, then no GM should ever be held accountable, ever. Hell, if the job of a GM is just to do whatever the coach says to do, sign me up. I'll take the job, and I'll do it for half of whatever you're paying Chris Grier to do it. I mean, the fact that people are trying not to blame him for anything is laughable to me. Sorry, buddy. When you have final say over the draft, you get held accountable for it. Was Brian Flores a part of that collaborative effort? Sure. In the case of Deshaun Watson, yeah, it sounds to me like Brian Flores was the biggest advocate for Deshaun Watson. So he takes some blame for that, but I can't give him all the blame for that when you have a GM who has final say over the coach and an owner who would have to sign off on a trade like that. I can't put all the blame on Flo. I'm sorry. When there's dysfunction in the front office among people who report to the owner needs to be held accountable for that as well. And the bottom line is, since Stephen Ross purchased the Miami Dolphins, that purchase was finalized in 2008, we have known nothing but dysfunction since then. Ross deserves blame, a lot of blame. Grier deserves plenty of blame. And yeah, Flo, who got canned, deserves blame for that as well. All right, let's talk about the Miami Heat again. Brady Hawk is with us. The boy wonder himself. Brady, that was a lot of fun last night, man. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Were you covering the game in person last night?
No, I was watching from my couch at home.
And they still won, despite the fact, was Ethan there?
Yeah, he was. So this team is just doing that great right now that it doesn't even make a difference.
I was about to say, if these guys are able to, win games against tough opponents when Brady isn't there, who's usually good luck, and Ethan, who's a mush like me, if he is there and Brady's not and they're still winning, this may be the best win of the year so far. And obviously it was a really happy night, Brady, because Bam Adebayo returned from over a month and a half away. So I was talking about this at the top of the episode, and I told all my viewers, if there's a guy who can break this down a lot better than I can, it's Brady Hawk. So Brady, how did Bam Adebayo, who didn't put up gigantic numbers, but he definitely played pretty well, getting his sea legs under him. How did Bam Adebayo, in your words, affect that game last night?
Yeah, for one, my expectations weren't very high for his first game. Like when people were talking about points, like I was saying, like go under on all that because it just didn't feel like he was going to come out the gate and put up 18 to 20 last night. Like that didn't feel like what it was going to happen. And early on, it looked like maybe he was a little nervous. Like it looked like that was first game jitters. They said he didn't, sleep the night before. But man, was he everywhere defensively. And that's not even just saying that, like he was everywhere defensively. They've survived defensively without him in many ways. Even with subpar defenders in Yurtsevin, they kind of found ways in drop. They found ways in blitzing. Last night, they went straight back to the switching stuff, which makes sense because that Toronto team is just very unique. Like their shooting guard and their center are basically around the same height. And no matter what lineup they throw out there, they just have 2 through 5 and the same lengthy guys. And they could just switch everything. It worked out. But I think the next step is mixing in some drop, mixing in some blitzing when you're utilizing Bam Adebayo. Like that's going to be the next step. That's what you're going to want to see. But overall, I think it just looked a lot better. It looked a lot smoother. There were times where you even talk about Duncan Robinson, which is a totally other discussion. But when you talk about the dribble handoff connection, and if you watch the handoffs compared to Yurtseven compared to Bam, Yurtseven standing sideways kind of 3 seconds before he gives the handoff. Bam sizing his defender up and then flows into a handoff. Like everything looks much better when Bam's in there. And then once, he's not dropping every pass early in a game because he's a little nervous. Once he can get that back, once he gets his point guard back to kind of feed him in his spots, everything will look better. But I think that was pretty much a typical Bam Adebayo initial game. Plus just, I think he gave a little more defensively than I originally expected.
And I want to say to Jose A. Lucas, thank you so much for the super chat. And yeah, Brady, I was talking about this a little bit before you came on. Honestly, like I'm not as big of a fan of Giannis Antetokounmpo today as I was yesterday. Like the guy just won a championship, and he's still complaining about getting clowned by the bubble Heat 2 years ago. And it's like, and I thought Ethan articulated this pretty well on Twitter, and he was tweeting like a madman today. The whole bubble narrative for that Heat team, it's ridiculous because it's like basically you're saying, okay, these guys were mentally tougher and better coached, and so they thrived in a bubble. Like, how do people use that as an insult when it sounds to me like a compliment? So Giannis, why weren't the Bucks ready for the bubble?
Yeah, and it's funny because if Jimmy was to say a similar thing about last season, it would not be taken the same exact way. If Jimmy talked about getting swept last season and said the circumstance or injuries or anything like that along those lines, it would not be taken the same way. But 100%, it just feels like the bubble being different doesn't mean it just like you had an advantage. Yeah, the Heat did have an advantage because they were built for it. It shouldn't be a negative connotation. It should be a positive thing that when people joke around and say the culture isn't a thing, maybe that word to the degree that people say it isn't, but they are prepared for moments like that. They're prepared to, as you mentioned, be well coached. They're prepared for different type of environments. And I don't see a way that you can really take it that way. As we've said before, like I feel like last season was the season that's more different than the bubble. Like just looking at them, Miami having to go that much more of a distance, turn right back around, start a season, go throughout the entire season, up and down the COVID situations. And then the first round, they got swept. Yeah, they got swept because they just played basketball for a year and a half straight. Like that's what feels more different than heading into a bubble season where you just had, what was the time, 4 to 5 months off. Like that doesn't feel odd. But it feels like there's never going to be a time where that topic doesn't come up, but it's just a stupid argument.
Brady Hawk is with us. He does an awesome job breaking down the Miami Heat. 5reasonsports.com on 5 on the Floor. He does the Brady breakdown videos on Twitter, which are awesome. You brought up Duncan Robinson, and I do want to get into that a little bit. With Bam back, not surprising he's back in the starting lineup over Strus. But you look at with Duncan, 18 minutes. He played 18 minutes. Strus came off the bench and played 29 minutes. That wasn't a coincidence, right? I mean, that's a trend we may see continue.
Yeah, even before that game, when people were kind of making the prediction, would Duncan Robinson start or would Max Strus start? The point I kept making was that I don't think it matters because I feel like Max would end up getting more minutes anyway. Like it just feels like, even though Max, I wouldn't say had the greatest game, like it felt like up to that point late in the game where I was saying to myself, like Caleb should be in over Max. Like you don't really need to go that route for Duncan or Strus. They're just at the point now where they're going to treat him this way. Like it's going to happen. I think he'll have games coming up where he'll pop, but there's going to be decisions to be made because you're seeing a guy in Max Strus has had moments. Duncan has had less moments, but he still had moments overall when you look at the numbers combined. But I'm sure as we'll talk about, the depth of this team is just incredible. That it's just like if you have a guy that is not playing up to his standard, there's a guy down the line that is waiting to take that spot because he can, because you have a Gabe Vincent that can defend and shoot the ball at a high level. You have a Caleb Martin that can do so many things, that this is a different type of beast that if you kind of slip up down the stretch of a season and it goes even longer, and then you're 3 weeks until the playoffs and it's still happening, they're going to make a decision to move on from you because these other guys are prepared. But I do think there's going to be a decent period of time where Duncan's going to have this trial. Like this wasn't a one-game thing where, oh, Bam's back, we're going to just see how this happens tonight. Like, I don't see that happening. They're going to get their point guard back in Kyle Lowry. They're going to go 2 to 3 weeks. If nothing's popping to that degree, maybe they change things up. But I do think eventually it'll kind of come together. And if it doesn't, they'll go from there.
Do you think Oladipo makes his season debut before or after the All-Star break?
That's an interesting question. I would aim for before. Obviously, that's no information. I would just aim for before because it feels like that's the way they're trending. I see the way
Yeah.
he's been doing the conditioning, working with the team. Like it feels like they're getting pretty close. And I think that's another guy. We're talking about so many guys on this team to fit into a rotation, especially playoff time when they cut it down. I do want to say though, I think we're all talking about Victor Oladipo, and you don't really want to go in this direction. But he's going to have to earn his spot. Like this isn't
Yeah.
a team where Victor Oladipo, that it's his name and he's going to have this spot on his team. Like it's no given that he gets to just jump a Caleb Martin on this team with the way Caleb Martin's been playing or these other guys. Like he's going to earn it. I do think he will because I think there's certain guys that are just so talented that it doesn't really matter and they'll get to that point. But I do think he's going to have to work to that point. They're going to give him opportunities, but it's just not a given immediately.
So Bam Adebayo was out for nearly 2 months, and when he got hurt, my thinking was just try to stay afloat. Like while
Yeah.
he's out, just try to like hover around 500. Then you
Mm-hmm.
can make your run, January, February, whenever he comes back. Instead, while Bam is out, this team is a lot better now for it. I think Brady, like they've developed so much more depth. They've identified Spo and company other ways to win basketball games. And the thing that's scary, I think, for the rest of the NBA is, one of your two best players is out, and your other best player, Jimmy Butler, missed an extensive period of time as well. I look at the standings now, and it feels like I'm in a dream. Like you're in a virtual tie at the top of the Eastern Conference with Chicago. And like honestly, Brady, I said it. I think this is big trouble for the rest of the Eastern Conference because all of a sudden now the number 1 seed is in play for Miami. Do you think they should go for it? Like I never would have even considered number 1 seed before the season started. Obviously, there are advantages to it. And this team, if they can stay healthy the rest of the way, honestly, to me, there's no reason why they shouldn't go for it.
Oh, they're going to be going for it. And I think I totally agree. When that day was December 1st, when it was reported that Bam was going out, I pretty much said it had to be around 500, maybe even a little less. Like that was the expectation heading in because at the time, even Jimmy was in and out. They did not look like we didn't know what Omer was at the time. Like there was so many implications there that you didn't really know what's going to happen. But just specifically talking about this time period without Bam, you mentioned finding guys, the depth of this team or discovering an Omer that he can play in this role. The reason I think this time was so important, for one, something a lot of people have touched on is the Bam resting his knee thing. I think getting that time off is pretty important. The other thing I think schematically is that they found other ways to go about things, that you don't have to stay so linear all the time. And I think the one thing I just touched about before, everything was switching. And I think it bothered some people whenever Bam would be on a guard and a guard would be on a big down low. They don't have to play like that all the time. You can switch to zone as they have, but also you can switch with Bam to drop. You can blitz guys. You can have a guy that's 2 times as fast as Omer, and he can recover twice as fast. Like you can go about things differently. I think the big thing is we've seen PJ pick up for Bam offensively. If you look on the other side of the court, like that was nothing anybody could have predicted before the season, that they would be running. We were saying they're going to run offense through Kyle. They're going to run offense through Bam, Jimmy, and possibly Tyler if he develops that a bit. Now they're running offense through PJ Tucker at a high level. They were running offense through Omer. And they found other ways to go about things through a system where it's not just constant pick and rolls and then Bam's making the decision. They're finding these different role players to put their back to the basket, play make over the top. Like if Bam didn't get injured, I don't think they discover any of this. And I think they're better suited for a playoff team or in the playoffs or being a 1 seed now that they kind of found these things out along the way.
I love it. Great stuff here as always. And Brady is all over all the 5 Reasons platforms. He's all over 5reasonsports.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Brady Hawk 305. He does tremendous film breakdowns. 5 Reasons YouTube for that as well. 5 on the floor. Brady, is there anything special you have cooking this week? Anything people should look out for on the website?
Pretty much the same thing, just takeaways after the game and then the following day, as you touched on, just the film breakdowns.
Awesome. Enjoy the rest of your week, man, and let's go Heat. This is a really fun team to watch, especially when, like, obviously, I cover the Dolphins a lot, all the dysfunction.
Yeah.
It's nice to cover function, right? Because the Heat are a functional organization.
For sure. This is a different team, even comparing them to the Dolphins. This is a different team from past Heat teams. Like even looking at the bubble team, like this team has something to them that they're just exciting.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, my friend. We'll talk next week.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome job there by Brady Hawk. My friends, it is a Taco Tuesday. We got our guy Dave Friedman with us. He does have a nice taco shirt on. Is that like, did you like find that on Amazon, or you had that custom made? Is that a custom taco shirt?
Ethan had it custom made. He said it's the best seller. I don't know.
Really? I thought it was one of those Spo quotes or one of those Tua shirts that was the best seller. Dave, do you have any idea? Anyone who bought like Tua shirts on 5reasonsports.com, have they been trying to send them back? Because like, oh, Manny, have you sent back your Tua shirt? You bought 2 Tua shirts?
I have the 2 Tua jerseys. I told you. I'm all in, right?
God. Car wash rags at this point, right?
No, what are you talking about? It's my guy.
By the way, I talk shit sometimes at people. People take me way too little. Like I feel like Dave and we get each other. Like we understand. We're both very sarcastic individuals. I have to offer this disclaimer. If anybody's watching the show for the first time, and I do, there a couple people in the live chat said that they were first time viewers. I don't hate Tua. I don't. In fact, it is my goal to keep from being brainwashed by one side or the other. Because I feel like, Dave, I feel like there are very few outlets where you can get somebody talking about Tua Tagovailoa without some kind of a bias, right? I'm not Tuanon. I'm not a Tua hater. I've praised him when he's had good games. I've criticized him after, the debacle in Tennessee, and I've criticized some of his limitations, but I try to call it like I see it with Tua. And so here's a question I have for you, Dave Friedman, who of course is watching all this madness with the Dolphins coaching search. Do you think that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be a big deciding factor in who they hire? Because I know one of the finalists or one of the people they've interviewed is Brian Daboll, he's doing a fine job in Buffalo, no question about it. But he does have a history with Tua. Coached him at Alabama, was part of his recruitment there, so he likes Tua. The Dolphins have endorsed Tua publicly within the last week. So do you think they might end up maybe limiting their coaching search to people who really want to work with Tua?
That would be so Dolphins, right?
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, of course I do. Should they do it? No. Like, to me, if he's the guy, it's not the end of the world, right? I think we're on the same page, and that's kind of what we're saying. It's like we're not shock jock. We're not trying to be one extreme or the other. We're just looking at it as it is. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Like, there's no guarantee that a Deshaun Watson or a Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers is available to them. So is Tua the worst case scenario? No, but like at the same time, let's eliminate the Deshaun Watson thing, right? I think that's the problem. Let's eliminate him and the 18 or 22, whatever. If it's Russell Wilson, do you still not want them to take a shot?
I do. I want them to take a shot at Rich.
Right.
If Russell, I don't care how old he is. If he's available, you go for it. Because the other thing is, man, this is not a rebuild anymore, this Dolphins job. Like, okay, when Flo took the job 3 years ago, that was a rebuild. But when you've got a team who 2 straight years has been just one victory away from getting into the playoffs, and they got a really good defense, this is no longer a rebuild. So if you were to have a chance to get a guy like Russell Wilson, you go for it.
And if you're going after a guy like Russell Wilson, like, again, we went back to this last week with the coach and the big name or the first-time head coach. Like, isn't it the other way around, sort of? If you can get a guy like Russell Wilson, isn't he the guy that you want to get a coach that he wants to play under? Like, he's leaving Pete Carroll over there, and I think part of it, he's got kind of tired of Pete Carroll, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
To me, it's like the opposite. I mean, if you were so all in on Deshaun Watson, which I know they're coming out and saying it was just Flores now, which is crap, but it's one of those things. Like, to me, if you theoretically can get Russell Wilson, like, why don't you wait on the coach? Or you know what I'm saying? Just don't make it all about Tua. That's really all it is. You're limiting yourself.
Who do you think is going to be the next head coach? And just for the sake of context, let me read out the list of names for who they have publicly invited for interviews or interviewed already. Dan Quinn, Mike McDaniel, who the nerds love that guy. The nerds love because he's like you love, because basically like Mike McDaniel, like he's somebody who maybe 10 years ago would have written for something like 5reasonsports.com. Like he didn't play football, but he's a Yale guy. He's super smart. His play designs are legendary, but I think people love the fact that he's such a geek. So Brian Daboll, Leslie Frazier, Vance Joseph, our old buddy, Kellen Moore, but after watching some of the offensive decision-making of the Cowboys the other night, I'm maybe you cross him off the list. I don't know. And one that was really out of left field, Thomas Brown, who's the Rams running backs coach and assistant head coach. He worked under Mark Richt at Miami a few years ago, the University of Miami. So who do you think is going to get this job?
Well, the Kellen Moore thing, by the way, like that was similar to Daboll, right? It was, he's left-handed.
Yeah, he could work with Tua, left-handed former quarterback.
And to be clear, like I used to play baseball. I'm a left-handed thrower, right? So
Really?
I'm a lefty bias. Like I love Tua for that reason, right? But that's not why you go hire a coach, in my opinion. I don't know. Look, again, I think Harbaugh is off the list. Is that what we're doing now, right?
He's not on the list yet, so I don't know if he'll ever be on the list. But I'm assuming, yeah. Like we spoke last Tuesday. And it seemed like at that point, Harbaugh maybe was a possibility. It's, a week later, it's not a possibility. I don't think he's a possibility.
And I haven't heard his name anywhere, which is kind of the weird thing. Like, I know he wants to go to the NFL, right? I mean, we're on the same page with that.
Supposedly, he might be trying to get more money from Michigan.
Makes sense. So, look, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did go defensive coordinator just to sort of replace Flores. I mean, if they're saying Flores had all these issues, it wasn't so much the type of coach that he was in the sense of defense and all that. It was that he had problems. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went back down that route. But I think the McDaniel thing, like, I mean, we might as well give Ethan the job if that's the case, right? I mean,
he wouldn't be terrible at it, honestly.
No, I actually, yeah. I
say that because he's the boss. In real life, I'm like, what are we doing?
No, he was the best option for sure. Look, I'm a McDaniel guy. Like, I'm a secret closet 49er fan because of my best friend. So I default to that. But I agree. It's like, if they're going to go through all this madness, it seems like the fun choice at this point, right?
Right. I got to ask you, what was it like growing up left-handed? Because I've got a 4-year-old son, and I think in the lens of sports, right? So like when he was born, I'm like, I got to start training him early as a lefty. I want him to be, a pitcher. Being a left-footed soccer player is also advantageous. Maybe a southpaw boxer. Like, give me something. And then my wife was like, no. Being left-handed is terrible. Like you like the notebooks and stuff are made for righties. Everything's smudged. Like, was it hard, girl? Like, did you smudge when you were writing things down in like the composition books? Everybody types now, anyways, Dave. But was it hard growing up lefty?
All right, so here's the other side to that. I only throw left-handed. Like everything else I do is right-handed.
Really?
I batted right-handed. I write right. Yeah,
really?
Everything else is right-handed.
Why?
Because I'm special like that, obviously.
Apparently.
That's why I'm here. No, look, I don't know exactly how. My grandfather was a left-handed baseball player too, so I think maybe that's a part of it. But look, I did have, like you're saying, like the idea of having a left-handed kid. Like, my son is 2.5. I would love it. When I saw him pick up a ball with his right hand, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't have any special treatment other than the fact of the left-handed pitcher thing, which I could throw like 85 miles an hour and still be good compared to a right-handed pitcher.
And by the way, to Brooklyn Rob, unfortunately, my son has chosen a righty, and the efforts that I made upon his birth to try and train him as a lefty, they were vetoed because I'm trying to think about the kid making like millions of dollars as a lefty pitcher. My wife is thinking about how is he not going to smudge when he writes at school. Like, my priorities, I feel like are way more important. But she wins every argument, so it is what it is.
Yeah. No, it's look on that end of it. Like I said, I'm with you as far as I said. Oh, like he'll pick up a ball left-handed. Look, if he's a right-handed thrower, I just put him at catcher. Let him play positions that are not as coveted, that type of thing.
Let me know what you're up to, because you're really good with the prize picks on 5. I mean, I've won some money thanks to you. I'm always really nice to the people who join me that actually help me win cash, so I appreciate that. You have anything going on the network this week?
Yeah, look, we have all the football going on. I mean, obviously the heat and everything else going on, but to me, playoff football, you can't beat it, right? So
Can't.
yeah, we're going to be on. I think Saturday and Sunday we're going to do something for the network. We'll be giving out our picks, but you have to watch the show. That's the thing. We can't be giving out all our secrets. It's a Prize Picks on 5, and you're going to use code 5 when you sign up.
By the way, honestly, our contributors on this network are getting way too good at like plugging, because, like, for example, what you just did there, basically, I'm not going to give Donno any of the goods, which I understand it. Like, I had Hussam Patel on last Thursday, and I was like, who do you think is going to be the next Dolphins coach? And his answer was, well, I'm writing a column about it tomorrow on 5reasonsports.com, so you'll have to read it tomorrow on the website. You guys are getting way too good.
We all learned from Ethan, right? I think
Yeah.
that's what the theme of the day is. Boss man.
I love it. Well, I love the taco sweatshirt, and we've actually had the kind of weather where you can wear it and not sweat your ass off. So
I am sweating my ass off, by the way.
That's still,
yes.
Yeah. Taco Bout Sports. Dave, thank you so much, man.
All right. Love you, man.
Love you too, man. Awesome job. Well, let's keep talking Dolphins here. He's usually a Monday guest. I didn't do a show yesterday because I'm lazy. I was doing something else, but we're doing a show today. Alfredo Artiaga is with us. Alf, good afternoon, sir. How you been?
Great. I'm just reading how Dan Rovell is going to try to unravel the entire University of Miami football program. So,
I'm so glad you brought that up.
I'm in on that today. Like, I'm reading everything that John Ruiz is writing back to him, and
oh my God,
I'm planning my own lawsuit against Darren Rovell. So,
dude, it is unbelievable. Like Darren Rovell, you'd think a guy in his line of work can actually see what's happening in college football, and he picks out Miami, talking about paying players under the guise of name, image, and likeness. Bro, that's exactly what name, image, and likeness is. And in fact,
yes.
a lot of the same things happening in Miami have been happening under the table for years at places like Georgia. I've heard a lot of stories about Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma. And now all of a sudden, Miami is doing something that everybody else is doing. This is not a guise of name, image, and likeness. This is name, image, and likeness. And I can't believe how little Darren Rovell understands about what college football has become.
Yes, if we sell a number 9 Van Dyke jersey, Tyler Van Dyke should get a couple of dollars for it. That is what NIL is, Mr. Rovell. Okay.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, if the rules allow it, and I could go down to the campus and pay Tyler Van Dyke $1,000 to clean my car, then so be it. Okay.
He better do a damn good job if you're paying him $1,000. He better have like the Dirt Devil vacuum in there, all the creases.
Oh, yesterday I was talking to a few of I forgot who the hell I was talking to. In fact, I was talking to my OnlyFans people, my members only people.
Love it.
And I was telling them I don't know if you saw The Rock yesterday on with Eli and Peyton.
No, I didn't.
Well, The Rock has one of the greatest rich people items I would ever buy. Like, look, I don't really care about owning a Ferrari or owning a mansion in Beverly Hills or beach house, but The Rock behind his bar has a T-Rex skull.
I heard about this.
Okay, and that is something I absolutely would buy. And I'm just glad that Dan Rovell doesn't have to deal with me as a uber rich person, because I'd be doing all kinds of ridiculous things. Okay, if you got a 5-star linebacker somewhere, I got a car you could wash for about 30 or 40 grand. You know.
Well, wasn't it like there are some rich people that, like, the second they make their first million, the first thing they want is, I've got to buy like a lion or a tiger and like have them in a cage in my mansion. Like that's like I know that was a big thing. Like, for those who have watched Cocaine Cowboys, like that was like a big thing among like the drug crowd in the 80s in Miami. Like, you start making a ton of money. What would you want to invest in? Some real estate? No. Stock market? No. I want to buy a tiger. And have him.
Well, I've investigated the T-Rex skulls, and like, if you want one, a complete T-Rex skull, you're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $4 million at auction. So,
oh my God,
yeah, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is balling out of control. Yeah, we need to investigate further whether that T-Rex skull is legitimate or fugazi.
probably easy to counterfeit one of those. So I hope that's not the case. But I feel like only authentic for The Rock, right?
It has to be.
Man. So
come on, like look how much money the guy. What did he make? He made like $1 billion over the course of like 4 years in movies. So yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's insane.
By the way, why isn't he buying us some 5-star linebackers?
I was going to say he should start his own NIL. He should start something under the guise of NIL, like Darren
Rock
Rovell.
Productions. Yes,
right. Exactly.
You get to be a key grip in one of our movies for $1 million a year, as long as you have 5 stars.
Right, exactly. Alfredo Artiaga is with us from 3 Yards Per Carry, which is the most complete Dolphins podcast. You need to have 3 yards per carry in your life. In fact, if you call yourself a Dolphin and you don't listen to 3 yards per carry, I would refute your claim to be a Miami Dolphins fan if you're not listening to 3 yards per carry. So, Alfredo, we last spoke 8 days ago, the very day Brian Flores was fired. And, you and I were both pretty bullish on the idea that Doug Peterson would be a really good fit for the Miami Dolphins head coach. 8 days later, we have no evidence that they're even interested in Doug Peterson, which leads me to believe they probably aren't. Why do you think that is? Like, why have they not arranged at least an interview with this guy?
Well, the key here is that they don't have to announce that they did an interview with Doug Peterson. They could have snuck him into Miami Gardens and we would have not known, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or, like tomorrow they're doing an interview with Mike McDaniel and they're doing it via video conference. They could have video conference with Doug Peterson and we wouldn't know, what they're doing. They're conducting these interviews in like complete secret, so we're not really knowing too much. We just get bits and pieces. Like I've been told that it's important to them that the next coach has a good grasp on the roster. Mm-hmm. So if you read between the lines, that would say that Brian Daboll probably has a pretty good handle on the roster since he's kind of used to dismantling it at least twice a year. So, I would say that he's the leader in the clubhouse, but, we really don't know. Like, this has really been in secret and not much is getting out of Miami Gardens these days.
Well, and another thing, I wonder how big of the criteria do you think this would be? And this would also favor Brian Daboll, Tua Tagovailoa. Like the Dolphins are at least they're publicly committing to Tua. They're leaking to reporters that they want their next head coach to work with Tua. Brian Daboll has literally worked with Tua. He coached him at Alabama, I think was part of his recruitment out of high school. So one of the things I was worried about, and I tweeted about this over the weekend, the responses were glorious. I love watching the world burn. Just wondering if the Dolphins were going to limit their coaching search to people who want to work with Tua. A lot of people agreed with me being concerned about that. A lot of people were very angry at me for even saying that. And then I noticed most of the people who were angry at me literally had a picture of Tua as their avatar or the word Tua as part of their Twitter name. So I didn't really take it that personally. But do you think like bringing in someone who really, really, really wants to work with Tua, or in the case of Daboll has worked with Tua, is that going to be a big part of the criteria here?
I think it will carry a little bit of weight. Like, obviously, you don't want Chris Sims walking into the building, right, to interview for the job, okay?
I might, actually. No, I'm just kidding.
You're like Chris Sims or Mike Florio walks into the building to interview, like,
Chris Sims would try to trade for Taysom Hill. He'd say, let's trade Tua. Yeah. We'll send Tua and Xavier Howard to get Taysom Hill in return. No, I don't want any part of that.
So obviously, if you get like Colin Cowherd, Mike Florio, or Chris Sims walking into the building to interview for the job, you obviously got to cut that interview short, right, and kick them out of the building as soon as possible. But you kind of want to go in with an open mind. You don't want people parroting talking points that they heard on Pro Football Talk, right? So you want them to come in with an open mind. But if the consensus is that yes, Tua is going to get a shot in 2022. You kind of want the guy who's been the closest to him. And Brian Daboll, very famously, there's an article out there where Brian Daboll had advocated for Tua to start that season as a freshman.
Wow.
But Nick Saban didn't want him to start. He wanted to give Jalen Hurts a shot. And sure enough, Nick Saban finally caved at halftime of the national championship game, right? So, you kind of want that going forward, because then you're going to get fresh eyes and a clean look at the quarterback for a year. before you might have to employ some of those assets in getting a new one, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at vacant jobs in the NFL. Raiders probably. They did get to the playoffs with an interim coach, but I'd consider that a vacancy. Dolphins, Jaguars, Chicago Bears, Broncos, Vikings, New York Giants. Where do you rank the Dolphins job? Like, is that the most attractive job or one of the most? Like, how does this? Because obviously, maybe getting the best possible coach is going to depend on what other offers they have, right? So, how attractive do you think the Dolphins job is?
It has to be one of the most attractive, if not the most attractive, right? Because first of all, you're getting, and I get it. All right, I hear what everybody's saying. Everybody has Stephen Ross, meddling and pulling all the puppet strings, but he really doesn't. Okay, he's kind of an absentee owner, so he's going to let you do your thing,
which to me is a problem in itself. Yeah,
right. But it's not a problem for a coach. The coach kind of
Right.
likes that. A coach kind of likes to have a run of the place, right? And then you have a general manager who essentially tries to do whatever the coach asks him to do. He's going to have his own input, but you kind of get to ask for the groceries and he'll go get them for you. So, that's good. And then you talk about lifestyle, and it's Miami, and, we know about the tax advantages in the state of Florida. And then you say, well, what do you have as far as a roster? Well, you have kind of a ready-made defense, right? The defense has a lot of talent on it. You even have some good defensive coaches you might want to keep. So then when you get right down to it, like, what's the problem? Like, why is this job vacant? Well, the offense is bad and it's not good enough, right? So that's what you have to make better. So how do you make it better? Well, you get a lot of cap space this coming year. You get a trial run with your quarterback, and if that doesn't work out, you get 2 first-round picks in 2023 to fix that. So I would say this is one of the most attractive jobs out there. Other than that, the clean slate in New York with the Giants is probably attractive, but you got that fan base. Like, that fan base, is watching you like a hawk for 2-3 years. And forget about Chicago. Chicago is just too much pressure. And they're handing you a quarterback that you can't give up on right away. At least here in Miami, if you don't like Tua, you got a year, and that's it.
That's a good point. Alfredo Artiaga from 3 Yards Per Carry is on with us. So, when this job came open, and for the most part, I stand by this. I've said that personally, I would prefer to hire somebody with prior head coaching experience in the NFL. However, one of the most popular possibilities among the fan base is a guy who does not have head coaching experience, and he's one of us. I mean, he looks like a nerd. He talks like a nerd. Mike McDaniel from San Francisco. Now, it seems to me like you're a pretty big fan of his, and I'm coming around on McDaniel. Like, I respect his play designs, and I know he's very well renowned for that. So where do you look at him? Is he among your favorites to land this job?
Yeah, watching Sean McVay last night, I really do believe Sean McVay is one of the better coaches in football.
Yeah, I agree.
And possibly the best play caller in football. And then you look at Mike McDaniel, and it's like it's a swing for the fences, right? Like, it could easily blow up in our face. But more likely than not, I don't know if it's going to blow up in our face. I think it might be a home run hire. There was a time where Sean McVay was handed the play calling duties by Jay Gruden. Okay, right. Sean McVay was in Washington for a couple of years before calling a single play. Maybe Mike McDaniel is at that point right now where he's ready to get a little bit more responsibility. He builds the game plans in San Francisco. He designs the plays. There's a famous story about George Kittle wanting it written into his contract that he would only resign in San Francisco if Mike McDaniel was guaranteed to be there for the duration of his contract. Now, the NFLPA said you can't do that, but had they allowed, they could have done that. And, that's something that they were considering. And, you can always go to Twitter and check out 49er fans. Like, they're up in arms. They don't want Mike McDaniel to go anywhere. So, yeah, why not? I think, if you're going to swing for the fences, that's who you swing for the fences for.
Now, is there anybody on the list of 7 interviewees, the official list, who you say stay far, far away? I do not want any part of this coach here.
Yeah, Vance Joseph, he has a good reputation, but, just watching last night, It reminded me some how he can get a little bit vanilla on defense, and some of those coverages, it's just not for me with the talent the Dolphins have. Playing that Leo position like if it's 1999, not for me. So Vance Joseph is a guy that I would say, pass. And Leslie Frazier doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence, right? But that's
and also like I'm
and
is there something I'm missing on Thomas Brown? He just seems way too green for me. Like not enough NFL experience. Period.
I think Thomas Brown is a sneaky interview. I think that's an interview where they're getting in there and feeling him out just in case they do hire a defensive coach, and he brings in Thomas Brown as the OC. Like that's a possibility. Like I could see where they hire Dan Quinn and Dan Quinn says, hey, Thomas Brown, or maybe even Mike McDaniel comes in as the head coach and puts Thomas Brown under him as the OC. Like that's a possibility. Like, and he's a local guy, right? So you're kind of thinking, we want to get in here, because we don't know if we might be doing this like 3 years from now. And if history tells us anything, we'll be here in 3 years, right?
All right, last thing before I let you run. What's your prediction? Who do you predict will get this job?
You know what? I don't have a really good feel for this, but if I had to guess,
prediction. Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you go.
If I had to guess, I think Brian Daboll gets the job.
That's my prediction.
And I don't have any information on this. But if I had to guess, I would say Brian Daboll gets it. With the familiarity with the team, with the roster, and the quarterback, just makes a lot of sense, right?
It does. Alfredo Artiaga, 3 yards per carry. What's the schedule like, now that football's going on, Dolphins off season, how many episodes a week you guys putting out, and when can they find them?
We're going to be doing one a week, so I guess look for us tomorrow.
Awesome.
And then we'll ramp up toward free agency and the draft when we'll start doing 2 a week. But for the meantime, until the Super Bowl is over, you can look for us once a week. And, of course, we're active on Twitter, so we'll have some stuff on there as well.
You guys rock. Alfredo Artiaga, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you for having me, Donno.
Awesome. And guys, huge. I'm going to send some shout outs in the comments section, but I want to offer out some shout outs for our sponsors. They make this show possible. The Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Guys, they've been with me on my shows for more than a decade. The Quarterdeck is like part of my family. I love the Quarterdeck. This is such a great spot to watch every big game. Playoffs are going on, my friends. Playoffs are going on in the NFL. The NBA, NHL are in full swing. The Florida Panthers are freaking awesome. You guys can watch all the big games at every Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill location all over Broward County. Guys, they have the UFC pay-per-view fights. We got a big one this week. Francis Ngannou against Cyril Gane for the heavyweight title. That's going to be a big UFC pay-per-view, UFC 270. You can watch it at the Quarterdeck for zero cover charge. The UFC just raised the pay-per-view price when you order it at home. It just went up to $75. You know how much you pay at the Quarterdeck to watch it? Zero cover charge, my friends. The Quarterdeck is the place to be. Seafood is so fresh. The burgers and sandwiches are awesome. They have 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. As long as they are open, you can get 2-for-1 drinks at the Quarterdeck. The beer is ice cold. If you haven't tried the Quarterdeck yet, what are you waiting for? At the end of this month, by the way, we're planning on having a watch party, another watch party. I think on January 31st, it's going to be either at the Davie or the Sunrise location. We'll keep you updated, but we will have another Miami Heat Quarterdeck watch party coming up. So you guys have a chance to come out and meet us at the Quarterdeck. Find the location nearest to you or peep their menu before you go by visiting them on the web at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. Oh, and yes, we have an official sports book, betus.com. Yes, they are available in Florida. This is a full-service sports book. I'm constantly on there betting UFC fights, NFL games, playoff games, NBA, NHL, pop culture props, and live betting on all of it, by the way. Not only can you bet the playoff games before they start, you can bet them while they're in progress. I bet international soccer on there as well. Yes, they're available in Florida. Guys, you have to check it out. Take my word for it. This is going to enhance your sporting experience. Sign up today at betus.com. They are the 3-decade leader, America's favorite sports book. They're in their 27th NFL postseason right now. And when you sign up with our code, we got the best bonus in the industry for you. 5RSN125. That's our code. Sign up with our code 5RSN125, and they're going to give you a 125% sign up bonus. If you deposit $100, they're going to give you $125 on top of that in free play money. How good is that? You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Brooklyn Rob, the absolute man, thank you so much for tuning in. Manny just signed off like 5 minutes ago, so he avoided your insults. He says, Manny, your Eagles look like crap. Never use Smith or Goddard. Goddard was getting some looks early in the game, but yeah, I agree with you. Huge shout out, David. Thank you so much. Craftsmaster Productions, just writing in Purple Drank. You know, I tried that once. I don't necessarily recommend it. College days, life was crazy back then. That was the Jamarcus Russell vice, right? Purple Drank. Nah, I'm good. I don't need any more of that in my life. Color commentary. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think he said this was his first time watching, at least live. So thank you so much. Grind Never Stops podcast. Who says the Heat barely beat the Raptors, sir. Have you seen what this team? They beat the Raptors by 5 points last night. Have you seen the run that they've been on when they weren't healthy? And now they're getting healthy, and they are virtually tied for first place in the Eastern Conference. Big trouble for the rest of the NBA, especially the East. The West at least gets to avoid us until the NBA Finals. The East is in huge, huge trouble, man. Let's see. Adam, thank you so much for tuning in. I might be a little quick on the shout-outs today because I'm supposed to make a phone call at 4 o'clock, and it's 4:01. So I'm not known for my punctuality. Let's just say that. Who else is in here? Let me throw out like 6-10 more shout-outs, and then we'll call it an afternoon. GT Block, thank you so much. John, thank you so much. Pray, thank you for tuning in. And by the way, guys, make sure you smash the like button. Whether you're watching us live or you watch this on replay later, hit the thumbs up. It does us a huge solid. If you like us, hit the like button. Even if you don't like us, just hit the like button anyway. If you hate us and you still hit the like button, you're not hurting anybody. It helps us out with the algorithm. Hit the like button if you can. Andres, thank you so much. AG, thank you for tuning in. Thank you again, Jose, for the super chat. You are an absolute saint. And yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's out there crying and whining about, they eliminated me in the bubble 2 years ago. Shut up, dude. You just won a championship the year after that. There's no reason to complain anymore. Marcus, thank you so much. Ninja Viking, thank you so much. Kirby Nelson, Super Duper. The Duper brothers, Duper and Clayton. Is that who he's talking about? Jay Smith, thank you so much for tuning in. Big Dan 305, who's one of our great evangelists. Like Big Dan 305, he not only watches every day, he spreads the word. He spreads the gospel of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Cass, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me throw out a couple more here. Trying to scroll up to see somebody I haven't shouted out already. And disclaimer, I'm going to skip over some people. I apologize. I don't do it on purpose. I'm not picking on you. I don't know. That might be it. I can't find any other unique commenters. So apologies if I skipped over you. Oh, here's one. Crypta Knight, Zachary B. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will talk to you again tomorrow. Same time, same place. 3 p.m. right here, or maybe even a little bit before. Sometimes we go on a little bit early, but roughly 3 p.m. We will talk to you tomorrow on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.